Hello and welcome to the 50-cent tour of Monday, April 1st, 2013. The tour is going to be a little different today. It is April Fool's Day. Please find a seat on the Liberty bus and we will begin to look around at what's going on. Benjamin Fulford this week, a couple of really interesting things. Speaking about intrigues, a very obvious and concerted campaign to feed alternative news media, including this writer, with misinformation is continuing. Once trusted sources have informed me of things like Henry Kissinger had a stroke, Hillary Clinton had been arrested, etc. We could not verify this information, and sure enough, shortly after the information was sent our way, Kissinger and Clinton both appeared at public events. The thing that it's because it's April Fool's Day. After I read that, honestly, and I knew it, and I think I mentioned it a week or two ago, just having that feeling that because the whole PSYOPs web is set up, that they have analyzed us as Liberty people, they have analyzed the alternative media people, and they know what stories we're looking for, what we're likely to believe. And after I read that in full for this morning, I'm a little frozen about news. That there were articles I looked at was going to put on the tour. You know, it's like if you have ever had food poisoning, whatever food you got food poisoning from, you do not want to eat that, at least for a certain period of time. I kind of feel like I need to recover from these thoughts about news, because another thing that's going on right now is, and if you follow the currency revaluation issue, you're aware that Intel said that there was going to be a currency revaluation over the past weekend. Obviously, this did not happen. And there's one more thing in the Fulford article that I want to mention, and then I'm going to move on and talk more about this idea of us, of alternative media people and Liberty people, truther people, having disinfo thrown at us and sometimes being deceived, and what the implications of that are. But one other thing that Fulford mentioned was, and I do believe this, because this came from an actual bank executive with whom Fulford is associated, or at least he knows the guy personally. And Fulford was in finance. He was an editor, a foreign editor of Forbes magazine. So his contacts are the real deal. The other crisis in South Korea has to do with bank loans. They are scamming on bank loans. Well, you know, that sounds like typical mortgage loan officers in this country. But the crisis has several interlocking dimensions. And one of the things that Fulford mentions here is that South Korean women are being sold into prostitution around the world to pay for their credit card debt. How barbaric is that? You know, when we look into history at barbarous times, selling women to pay off debt is, you know, it just doesn't get a whole lot more barbaric than that. And in the context of just the issue that I want to focus on, the issue of us being misled as liberty-minded, truth-minded, truth-seeking people, the bad news is, you know, often to generate fear, and that issue is bad news about South Korean women being sold into slavery. So but as I said, I do tend to believe that because it just makes sense in context. But there's a vice that we get squeezed between. Horrible news, these horrible things are going to happen. And then on the other side, all of the Nasara stuff, the currency revaluation stuff, oh, things are going to suddenly change and everything's going to be okay again. And I think that those two forces render us, or are maybe crafted to render us, just completely paralyzed. And I've given some thought to this morning, and I hope you don't all mind that I'm not focusing a whole lot on news issues. This idea of everything's going to be okay pretty soon. It's like, hey, can you climb a hill? Well, sure. Yeah, I can climb a hill. Oops, the hill wasn't really the summit. Now you have to climb this mountain. And I think that people tend to become overwhelmed, and this is the psyop. This is the trick here, you know. Tell people all they have to do is hold on a little bit longer, and then show them this other insurmountable obstacle. Well, first of all, this obstacle, this mountain, is not insurmountable. You can climb a mountain. And I think that where we're at, being in our bodies, feeling our connection to the earth, feeling the pull of gravity, having a sense of being in reality, can kind of help us to have the confidence to know that we can push through some of these issues. It doesn't matter how bad they are. That's what this bait and switch between the hill and the mountain is meant to get us to give up. Oh man, I can't do that. Where if we knew from the beginning, yeah, hell yeah, this is a mountain. This is not a hill. Then something rises up in us and says, I can do that. This is my life. These are my children. This is our future. I can do whatever is required. I will do whatever is required. And getting to that there's a physical dimension to that. And if we're constantly just on our computers, surfing, looking at things, thinking about things, we can miss that piece of the puzzle that is, no, I am a real person here in a real space, and these are real issues, and these issues can be addressed. That we not become overwhelmed, but that we become aware that we can resist gravity, you know, and exercise can do that. Exercise, physical activity, you have the feeling of resisting gravity. You know, you get out for a walk, you get out for a run, you go, you know, practice archery. You're feeling, even yoga, the gentler kinds of exercise, you're feeling your body resist the force of gravity. You're feeling your body resist things that are trying to hold it in place. And that physical feeling, I believe, can help us have the confidence and the belief that we can transcend the prisons and the traps and the deceptions that are meant to be put on us. You know, I was looking through the Liberty News this morning. Another thing that kind of bugged me, a lot of sites have an April Fool's joke. And oops, no, that's not, no, thank you. But we're deceived enough, aren't we, by the mainstream media? Let's not deceive one another. I don't mean to be a killjoy. I like to laugh. I like jokes. I like fun. But I'm just not feeling that I don't want to be a fool. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. That very difficult sentence that Alex Jones plays when George Bush is trying to get through it and end up saying, we won't be fooled again, and then he plays the Who song, which is great. And I guess I do want to just mention Alex a lot of liberty, a lot of alternative media. It relies on intel. Alex doesn't put out stories unless he can absolutely verify and back them up. And he knows a lot that he never talks about on air because he hasn't been able to put all the pieces of the puzzle together. And this morning, I wanted to use Alex as a bright and shining example, but Steve Pachenik was on his show this morning, and I'm not loving on Steve Pachenik. I don't, God bless him. He may be a patriot. He may have good intentions. I just don't accept 100% of what he says. And we can all filter things all the time, and if we don't, we're setting ourselves up to be further deceived. And as I put this video together, I really try to sift through and sort through, even using just that intuition. Does this feel true? But I'll very plainly state, I myself have been deceived many times in my life. And that intuition is not foolproof. So I believe that we really need to be prepared to go at things hard and prepared to climb the mountain and say, yeah, I doesn't matter what it takes. I am determined to see the republic restored. I am determined to be rewarded with the fruits of my labors without having a whole bunch skimmed off the top. I am determined to make the determination about what my life is going to be like and deny anybody who tries to make that determination for me, even if they claim to have my best interests at heart. So I realize this is really an unconventional tour, and I think that on Monday mornings people like to see a lot of news to kind of catch up. To me, this is very important that we are aware that there are people who are trying consciously to deceive us and to trick us and to divert us, and that they're remaining in power through evil forces depends to a large extent on them being able to keep us off balance. So, and these, horses have 4 legs. Wouldn't that be nice? It'd be pretty hard to lose your balance if you had 4 legs, but we have 2, and we need to stand on them. The reason I have the horses here is there are a couple of Bible verses that I was thinking about this morning in terms of all this. One is, if you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small. And the other is, if you have run with the footmen and they have wearied you, how do you expect to run with the horses? And I hope that we can all get ourselves in a place, emotionally, mentally, where we, maybe even physically, if you're in that phase of your life, where we are prepared to run with the horses. And no matter how difficult things become, that we are determined to stand up to the New World Order and the people who want to enslave us. And that is where the bully principle comes in. Once we stand up, and David Icke a couple years ago had that, using that lion symbol. We roar like a lion and say, no, you cannot do this to me, you cannot do this to my family, back off. Then that is a huge part of the battle. A huge part of the battle that we're in is an information battle. The information is about setting the course of how you think and emotionally how you're poised. And you can determine that, because you are the one who gets to decide what mental processes are running inside your head. She Who Will Walk in the Dark thanks you for participating in this tour. And tomorrow we'll be back on track with news. I'll get past that aversion that I have right now to reading things that I'm not sure if they're true or not. And in any case, we know the dawn is coming. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. I hope that you find the strength in yourselves to climb the mountain, to run with the horses. And I hope that you love one another, take care, and insist on liberty.